Welcome to Mixie Veteran Stories, where silence is never the end of the story and honor always finds its way home. This is the story of a man who returned to the same bench year after year through wind, silence, and rain. He wasn't waiting for a bus. He was waiting to keep a promise. And when the world hurried past, 47 Marines decided to stop and stand. So stay with us, because by the end of this story, you'll understand why some men don't need a flag over their heads to be seen as heroes. It had been raining since just before dawn, not the kind of romantic drizzle you see in movies, but a cold, steady downpour that soaked everything without mercy. On the corner of Ashland and 3rd Street, just outside a rusted bus shelter, sat an old man in a wheelchair, unmoving, silent, forgotten. Most people didn't even notice him. They were too busy rushing through puddles with their umbrellas, heads down, earbuds in, coffee in one hand and their phones in the other. A few glanced in his direction, maybe with curiosity, maybe with pity, but no one stopped. He didn't ask them to. The man, Samuel Sam Delaney, age 92, sat beneath the cracked plastic overhang of the bus stop, rain still misting in sideways through the open sides. He was soaked from the knees down, his polished black shoes darkened with water, his gloved hands resting gently on a folded American flag, tightly wrapped in a clear plastic sleeve. On his lap was a small wooden box, the type you'd see resting beside a photograph at a military funeral. He wore the full Marine Corps dress blues, navy coat with red piping, brass buttons, silver stars, a row of medals glinting beneath the gray sky. His white cover cap sat perfectly level on his head, even as the rain dripped down the back of his collar. His shoulders were slouched, not from weakness, but from decades of weight that no uniform could straighten. He wasn't homeless. He wasn't confused. He was exactly where he meant to be. Every year, on this exact date, March 18th, Sam returned to this bench. It was the place his son, Sergeant Nathan Delaney, had promised to meet him after returning from Afghanistan. They were supposed to take the bus home together, like they used to when Nathan was a boy. But that reunion never happened. Nathan had been killed by an IED 2 weeks before his scheduled return. Sam got the call on a rainy night, not unlike this one, 12 years ago. And every year since, he came back, same bench, same hour, same uniform. No fanfare, no words, just silence. This year, though, something was different. The wooden box in his lap wasn't just a symbol, it held something new. Nathan's Silver Star, awarded posthumously, after years of appeals, testimonies, and a final letter from one of his squad mates that changed everything. Today was Nathan's birthday, and Sam had come, not to grieve, but to deliver the medal to the spot where they last saw each other. He didn't expect company. He didn't want sympathy, but just down the road, 47 figures in dress blues had just exited a memorial service, and one young Marine had spotted the unmistakable red piping and worn ribbons from afar and slowed his step. Something was about to happen, something Sam never asked for, but would remember for the rest of his life. Samuel Delaney hadn't always been alone. Once he was a young Marine with shoulders broad enough to carry the world, and for a while it felt like he had to. He fought in the Korean War, survived frostbite in the Chosin Reservoir, and came home to a country that barely understood the word veteran. But life gave him one great mercy, his son, Nathan. From the day Nathan could walk, he followed Sam like a shadow, learning to polish boots at 5, folding the flag properly at 6, and saluting every time the anthem played, no matter where they were. Nathan didn't just want to be a Marine. He wanted to be his father's kind of Marine, disciplined, loyal, compassionate. They didn't have much, but they had rituals. One of them was taking the city bus every Saturday to the old diner near the river. Sam would order black coffee, Nathan a root beer float, and they'd sit by the window counting uniforms that walked by. "One day I'll be one of them," Nathan used to say. "I know," Sam would reply, "but don't rush to grow up." But time doesn't ask permission. At 18, Nathan enlisted. Sam didn't cry, not until the door closed behind the recruiter. "Go make your own war stories," he had said, "but come home and tell them, all right?" Nathan deployed to Afghanistan in 2010. In the final weeks of his second tour, he was assigned to convoy security in Kandahar. He was scheduled to return on March 18th, his 24th birthday. Sam had polished his old dress blues, pressed Nathan's homecoming shirt, and sat on that bus stop bench hours before the first bus even arrived. He never got to see his son step off it. The IED struck at 2:34 a.m. local time. Nathan had pushed another Marine out of the vehicle just before detonation. The other Marine survived. Nathan didn't. For 12 years, Sam carried that folded flag, that photo, and that unanswered goodbye. He tried to move on. He tried to forget the sound of the doorbell that morning, the dress blues at his doorstep that weren't his own. But he never stopped believing one thing. His son deserved more than silence. The Silver Star was supposed to come in 2012, then 2015. Then the paperwork got lost, the witness relocated, the file closed. Sam sent letters, dozens. Most never got a reply, but one did. In 2023, a letter arrived from Sergeant Isaac Herrera, the Marine Nathan had saved. In it, he described Nathan's bravery in vivid detail. He ended it with, "If not for him, I wouldn't have lived to name my first son." That letter reopened the case. 8 months later, the medal arrived by mail. No fanfare, no trumpet, just a box, a seal, and a folded instruction card that said, "Thank you for your family's sacrifice." Sam didn't want a parade. He just wanted one more Saturday. So he dressed in his uniform, wrapped the medal, placed it beside Nathan's folded flag, and went to the bus stop. Same place, same hour. To wait. Not for a bus, not for closure, but for someone else to notice what the world had forgotten. And someone did. The rain didn't stop, but something else did. A van marked USMC Memorial Detail slowed as it turned the corner near the bus stop. Inside were 47 young Marines just dismissed from a nearby memorial ceremony honoring Korean War veterans at Evergreen Cemetery. They were still in full dress blues, coats perfectly pressed, white gloves crisp, shoes polished to mirror black. They were tired, wet, ready to head back. Then Private First Class Angela Kim, seated by the window, spotted something. No, someone. A man, elderly, sitting in a wheelchair at the corner bus stop. Alone, drenched, his uniform unmistakable. She leaned forward. "Corporal, that man's wearing blues, and he's holding a flag." The van driver pulled over without a word. One by one they looked. The young Marines fell silent. None of them knew who he was, but every single one knew what he was, and that was enough. Staff Sergeant Ramirez was the first to step out. No command, no order, just instinct. He approached slowly, no umbrella, no rush, until he stood 3 feet away from the bench. Sam didn't look up. Rainwater pooled around his wheels. His gloves were soaked through. His back, though bent, remained proud. Ramirez stood there for a full minute. Then he turned, and without saying a word, he stood at attention. Behind him, the others followed. They formed 2 lines on either side of the bench, facing outward. No talking, no movement. Just 47 Marines standing guard in the rain for a man who hadn't asked for anything. They stayed like that for 23 minutes. People began to notice. A man in a coffee-stained suit stopped and removed his hat. A teenage girl filming TikToks paused, turned her phone toward the scene and whispered, "What's happening?" Cars slowed. Horns stopped. Time did too. Inside the bus stop, Sam blinked slowly. His hands shifted on the flag. His head rose, just enough to see the soaked boots around him. He turned his eyes left and saw nothing but lines of dress blue coats. He turned right. More Marines. He looked straight ahead and found Ramirez, water dripping from the brim of his white cap, standing still as a statue. What are you boys doing?" Sam croaked, voice breaking with age and disbelief. Ramirez didn't move, but he answered softly, "Sir, we don't leave one of our own out in the rain." A city bus rolled to a stop at the curb. The driver stepped off. He was in his 60s, wearing a faded Marine Corps ring. He saluted. Sam tried to stand. His knees buckled. 2 Marines caught him instantly, gentle but firm. He didn't protest. He just gripped the flag in the box and whispered, "You came." It wasn't planned. There was no social media post, no event, no official gesture. Just respect. Unspoken, uncoordinated, but absolute. A woman across the street was crying. A man knelt on the sidewalk, camera forgotten in his hand. A news anchor driving home pulled over and filmed the last 10 seconds. The clip would be viewed 76 million times in 4 days. But Sam didn't know that. All he knew was the warmth, not from the rain, not from the crowd, but from something ancient and unbreakable. Brotherhood, honor, legacy. For 12 years, he'd sat in that same spot, surrounded by ghosts. Today, they stood beside him. And for the first time in over a decade, Samuel Delaney let go of the silence that had wrapped around his life like fog. He let go of the idea that no one remembered. Because now 47 Marines had reminded the world, we see you, we remember him, and we stand because you once carried us. By the next morning, the world had already changed. The video, only 47 seconds long, had exploded online. It showed an old man in a wheelchair, drenched but unmoving, surrounded by 47 Marines standing like statues in the pouring rain. No music, no narration, just the sound of raindrops and reverence. The caption read simply, "He sat alone every year. This year, he didn't." Within hours, major news networks picked it up. Local outlets ran headlines like, "Rain can't drown honor." "Unknown Marine veteran finds National Guard of his own." 47 young Marines teach us what respect looks like. But what truly broke the silence was what followed. People started asking who the man was. It didn't take long. A retired Marine Corps historian recognized the uniform's details. The patch, the pins, the slightly non-standard placement of the silver star. He made a few calls. By noon, the name Samuel Delaney was trending. People learned about the Korean War, about Nathan, about the 12 years of quiet loyalty, about the mist, medal, the folded flag, the yearly ritual. Even more powerful were the comments, thousands of them, from Marines, veterans, and Gold Star families across the country. "That could have been my dad." "Semper Fi, sir, we saw you." "I served with his son." He talked about their Saturdays. One message came from Sergeant Isaac Herrera, the Marine Nathan saved. "He sat alone so we wouldn't forget. Now the country remembers. And I still carry the scar his son gave me, the one that lets me hold my son today." By day 3, the Commandant of the Marine Corps issued a public statement honoring both Samuel and Nathan Delaney. He personally delivered a second Silver Star, this time in full ceremony, flags at half-mast, and the national anthem played on a rain-washed field. Samuel didn't speak much during the event. He didn't need to. But when handed the microphone, he said only, "I came to sit with my son. I didn't expect the whole Corps to sit with me." The city moved quickly. That bus stop where Sam had waited year after year was renamed Delaney Station. They installed a bronze plaque in honor of those who waited alone so the rest of us could come home. A metal canopy replaced the cracked plastic. A flag now flew overhead, lit at night. Every March 18th, Marines gathered silently, 47 of them, by tradition, and stood for exactly 23 minutes, rain or shine. But the real shift was quieter. Strangers started stopping for people at bus benches. Veterans got saluted in grocery stores again. A young boy in Idaho saw the video and asked to join the Marines. Not because of the medals, but because, as he put it, "I want to be the kind of man who stands in the rain." Sam never asked for any of it, but he finally smiled, not because he was finally seen, but because Nathan was finally remembered. 1 year later, the rain came again, like clockwork, as if the sky itself remembered. On March 18th, at exactly 9 a.m., Delaney Station was silent. No buses ran, no announcements echoed, just the gentle sound of rainfall tapping the metal canopy now installed in honor of a man who once sat through storms with no shelter at all. A long black vehicle pulled to the curb, and from it, Samuel Delaney emerged, not in a wheelchair, not in silence, but standing tall with the help of a cane and 2 young Marines at his side. He was 93 now. His dress blues were pressed sharper than ever, his shoes freshly polished. The silver star rested on his chest, right above his heart. He carried nothing but the folded flag of his son, still wrapped carefully in plastic. And this time he wasn't alone. Hundreds stood in silence. Veterans of every branch, from every generation, had gathered shoulder to shoulder. Local school children clutched paper flags. A full Marine Corps band waited across the street. Journalists stayed behind the line because this wasn't their moment to take. It belonged to one man, to one Marine, to one father. Samuel walked, slowly, reverently, to the center of the bus stop, the very bench where he had waited, year after year. He turned, faced the Marines, and then he sat down. For the last time, a captain stepped forward, knelt, and extended a wooden box. Nathan's final citation, now preserved in gold-trimmed velvet. "Sir," he said, voice steady, "we promised we'd never let his memory stand alone again." Samuel didn't speak. He simply placed the folded flag atop the box, then leaned back, closed his eyes, and let the rain fall. And later that night, the Marines gathered again, 47 of them, by tradition. They took positions around the bus stop, forming the silent circle of honor. No commands, no movement, only breath, only memory. And when midnight struck, they lifted their hands in one final salute, not just to Samuel, but to all who sat alone before someone finally saw them. If this story touched your heart, we'd be honored to have you with us. Each day, we share quiet moments that remind us what still matters. You can subscribe below to join us.